Strand, Chris Welsh, and Jim Day were finally ready to play baseball, picking up after 6 innings of baseball yesterday. We go to the top of the 7th inning. Ivan De Jesus will lead it off. He's hitting 7th in the order. And starting out of the bullpen for the Mets will be Carlos Torres, an often used right-hander. Chris, he had a brilliant year last year. He struggled some this year.
Well, George, he's 32 years old. He's been around a little bit. He came up originally with the Chicago White Sox. He's also pitched in Japan, trying to hold on to a major league career. The cutter is his main pitch. He will throw between 55 and 60% cut fastballs. The rest of his pitches are really fastballs. So he's a guy that comes after you with either something that is straight, or if you're right-handed, something that's going to cut away from you at the very end, right before it gets through the plate.
He's no stranger to situations like this as he works from the stretch to Ivan. That's foul back, no balls, 2 strikes. Last August, he pitched in relief, and then the next day, after a rain delay, he came back and pitched 5 scoreless innings with no day's rest. So he's one of the few pitchers to pitch with no day's rest, and came back working from the stretch, 5 scoreless that second day in a game that the Mets eventually won. That breaking ball is up high, but many, Chris, and you've said it a lot over the years, the cutter can be a very effective pitch. You throw it too much, sometimes it wears your arm down.
Well, it depends how you throw it. If you try to throw it and it turns out to be a modified slider, then yes. But if it naturally comes out of your hand that way, the way it did for Mariano Rivera, then obviously it can be a natural pitch that will enhance your career. And I think that's really what happened with Carlos Torres. It happened back around 2000, 2001 that he started toying with that pitch. Of course, he didn't make the major leagues until long after that, but that's really the repertoire that he has come up with.
Last year, he was in 73 games, 97 innings pitched, so he was used often and used a lot. And he struck out 96 in those 97 innings pitched. So when he's got it working and he's right at the knees, he's a pretty tough customer.
Every pitcher wants a pitch that looks like a fastball but isn't a fastball. And that's where a lot of pitchers find the cutter.
There's Tucker Barnhart swinging, rifling this to right. That'll drop in front of Granderson for a base hit. So for Tucker, it's the 3rd time he's on in the ball game. He was intentionally walked in the 2nd. And if you missed our highlights earlier, in the 5th inning yesterday, he doubled to lead off the inning. Lorenzen then sacrificed him to 3rd, and Brandon Phillips doubled him in to tie the game at 1. That's why we're where we are right now. So Tucker's got his 2nd base hit of the ball game, a double and a single. Manny Parra had pitched the last inning, got the last out of the 5th inning. He is being pinch hit for by Brian Pena here. So Pena pinch hits in the number 9 spot. Well, Parra out of the game after his appearance yesterday. That's inside for a ball, and JD, Manny Parra ended yesterday's, but he won't start today's game.
Yeah, that was a big out, a game saver, and we talked to him after the game, and he jokingly said, "Hey guys, I want to make sure you know this is a mid-game interview because I've yet to hit. I still have to hit." Of course, he was kidding, knowing that they would pinch hit for him in a 1-1 game, but man, it was a big out he recorded yesterday on Curtis Granders.
Yeah, it was interesting because, Jim, you were in the office today when Brian Price opened his office to the media to come in, and he was non-committal as to who would wind up pitching today. And the scenario, there's a looping liner into right. That's a base hit. Barnhart will stop at 2nd. So right away, Chris, you said this is a sudden death kind of situation, and the Reds have a great opportunity here in the 7th.
Well, the Reds really feel, obviously, if you can get a run right here, then you're able to cover for the 7th inning and maybe even use Chapman for a 2-inning save. It depends what Brian Price decides to do. This base hit by Brian Pena, though, puts the Reds in the driver's seat with 1 out. So much so that they're going to take out Tucker Barnhart, who singled to lead the inning off, and pinch run Billy Hamilton at 2nd base. That's how important this run is right here. So you're almost playing it but not quite like extra innings.
And, of course, Pena will stay in the game to catch. So Hamilton, who did not start yesterday's game, is expected to start the regularly scheduled game of today in there to pinch run. 1 away, 2 on, and here's Brandon Phillips. Phillips earlier in the game yesterday doubled in the tying run in the 5th. From the stretch is Torres. And they'll chase Billy back to second.
You know, one comment on the fact that Barnhart is out of the ball game and Pena's in the game. You don't see very often managers take the chance of having no backup catcher now for the Reds, and rarely do you ever see an injury to the second catcher, and you actually would need a third catcher. So sometimes when they play it that conservative, you always wonder, well, I mean, just think about the odds, and the chances are not going to be very good that Brian Price is going to need another catcher right here, but he's taking a chance anyway.
And both managers indicating before the game that they're playing this like a sudden death encounter. So Billy represents the go-ahead run as he inches off second. It's strike one to Brandon, who's 1 for 3 in the game. And that one hit that he got, of course, stretched his hitting streak against the Mets to 31 straight games. 31 with a hit in every game he's played against the Mets. 10 of them at Shea Stadium, 21 here at City Stadium. He's gotten a base hit. Slaps it back and foul. No balls and 2 strikes. Neither team very successful with runners in scoring position. Yesterday the Mets were 0 for 6, 0 for 7, and the Reds are 1 for 5 at this point of this ball game. Great speed at second, Pena down at first. Middle of the infield double play depth with Herrera maintaining the job at trying to keep Hamilton tight. So there's a pretty good hole on the right side. That's hit right off the glove. They will end up getting an out, but the runners will advance to second and third. Had he not touched the ball, had Torres not gloved it, it probably would have been an inning-ending double play. So the Reds live on after the hard hit ball from Phillips.
Boy, Brandon hits it hard again. I mean, this time through the box, and you're right, probably would have gone right to the second baseman. So it keeps the inning alive. I mean, the second baseman, Herrera, was standing right there because you're trying to hold Billy Hamilton close to second base. So it would have been dumb luck on the Mets' part to have a double play out of that.
Ray Ramirez comes out to check on Torres. He says he's okay, and Terry Collins, well, he checks on him, and they'll replace Torres and come in with the lefty. So while the pitching change takes place and Votto comes to the plate, we'll be back after these messages. Carlos Torres will give way to Alex Torres, the left-hander, one of 3 left-handers in this bullpen for the Mets, Chris.
He's 27 years old, Alex Torres is, and he, like the other Torres, has been around a little bit with Tampa Bay, last year with San Diego, and this year with the Mets. Game number 31 for Alex Torres. You see that kind of funky-looking hat. We'll tell you about that as his inning continues. But that is a protector, similar to what a batter wears at the plate as far as a batting helmet. He's worn that really for a couple of years now. When he wore it last year for the first time, that particular cap is in the Hall of Fame. But he wore it because when he played with the Tampa Bay Rays, a teammate of his, Alex Cobb, was hit in the head with a line drive. And he laid motionless on the ground before he was finally carted off the field with a stretcher and missed 2 months of action. So Torres decided that he'd do something about it. And he says, you know, I don't care how I look. I care about protection. Right now, he's the only major leaguer wearing that cap.
Big at bat for Votto. 2 balls, no strikes. The go-ahead run sitting at third base. And that's high. Torres usually very effective against lefties, and he's the one guy that Terry Collins usually counts on for that one at bat against the toughest lefty of the night. And that's the position that he's in right here facing Votto.
Well, they do have a right-hander warming up in the bullpen, so this is probably a one-batter appearance for Torres, given the fact that you've got Todd Frazier, right-hander, on deck, if you lose him.
3-0. And there's ball 4. So the bases are loaded. And out comes Collins, and that will be it. The one batter that they had Torres come in to face, Joey Votto, he does not take care of. And the right-hander will be on the way in. So the wheels are turning for these two managers as they try to sneak a run in this suspended game that we resume in the 7th inning. And while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Manager trying to either get a run or stop the opposition from getting a run any way they can here, Chris, as Hansel Robles will come in, the 4th pitcher of the game. If you missed us yesterday, Matt Harvey started 6 innings, 5 hits, and a run allowed. Carlos Torres 2/3 of an inning, Alex Torres 1 batter, and here's Robles.
Well, Robles is the guy who it all comes down to face Todd Frazier. I mean, if you're in a tight ball game the way the Reds and the Mets are right now, it's much better to be in Brian Price's shoes, as he's got bases loaded and maybe the hottest hitter on his ball club stepping to the plate.
Frazier flied to left, grounded to second, and struck out in his 3 previous appearances at the plate yesterday. They're loaded with Reds with 2 outs. Breaking ball wide.
Well, you really got to make him throw strikes right here. You got to figure, if you're Todd Frazier, all of the pressure is on that guy towing the rubber.
Robles, 24 years of age, out of the Dominican Republic, to the stretch. Pop back and out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Looked like he thought he had one there.
Got a live fastball. I mean, that's the one thing about Robles. He's only 24 years old. He's not a big guy. He's about 5'11", but he's stout. Over 200 pounds, and he can touch 95 or so with that fastball. He gets it up in the zone, has a life of its own.
Through his minor league career, roughly 300 some odd innings and about a strikeout an inning. So he's been tough. Pop back and out of play to the right side. Power against power here.
This is probably the next area where the pitchers are going to begin to adjust to try to get Todd Frazier out. He's become so good at either defining or being able to foul off those pitches down and away that the next plan of action is to go somewhere else. And Robles obviously has a little bit of hemp on that ball when he gets it up around the letters. We've not seen his breaking ball yet.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Mets fans clapping. That's up high. A little giddy up on that in 97. 2 balls, 2 strikes. After the 1 was out, Tucker Barnhart singled, Pena singled, and Votto walked, bases loaded with 2 away. Popped up. It looks like there'll be room. Plawecki at the warning track will glove it, and the Reds leave the bases full in the top of 7. To the bottom of 7 we go, still tied at 1. Tejada will lead it off. Mascots, Mr. Met and Ms. Met, leading the 7th inning stretch here at Citi Field in New York as the drizzle continues. Don't forget, be a part of Major League Baseball's All-Star action by coming out to Great American Ballpark on All-Star Sunday, July the 12th, for a great doubleheader. Tickets available now at allstargame.com. Well, Chris, took us a while to find out, but now we know. The mystery pitcher is.
You have to reveal it one time or another, and I'm not even sure it makes all that big a difference, but why not? If you think you can get a little strategic advantage by keeping your pitcher's name quiet until the last minute, well, the Reds decided to do that, and after all, now you know who it is when I do. Ryan Matthews comes on after warming up in the bullpen. And you know, when you warm up a bullpenner, it doesn't take very long anyway. So if you have a starter down there, you know, probably 40 minutes ahead of time by the time they jog around and play long toss and everything else. Ryan Matthews just needed a couple of dozen pitches to get his arm loose, and he's been pretty good since he's been picked up by the Reds from the Angels earlier.
He's been a solid right-hand component to this bullpen. He's facing Ruben Tejada. Tejada hitting in the 2nd spot in the lineup. The new catcher is Pena, who stays in the game. Frazier's at 3rd. De Jesus at short, Phillips at 2nd, and Votto down at 1st. Schumacher. Marlon Byrd stays in the game in center field, and Bruce is over in right field. So Billy Hamilton used and does not stay in the game. 2 balls, no strikes. Down to 3rd, but foul. You know, and if you're Brian Price, you know, you look at this game, you think, well, if we start Pedro Villarreal, who's kind of your long guy, and you leave him in, maybe he's going to go 2, 3, 4 innings. But with a youngster starting the second game, Josh Smith starting the second game, if he doesn't last long, Villarreal would be the guy he would probably use first in the second game.
Probably, you're right. You know, you do have Carlos Contreras, who also can go extended innings. And I'm sure that Brian Price and Jay Bell, when they got together, and of course with Jeff Pico, the pitching coach, they talked about how they're going to plan today. And rarely do you have a whole night to sit around and plan on what you're going to do for 2 innings. They hope this is a 2-inning ball game. Reds missed an opportunity to go ahead in the top of the 7th. Matthews trying to throw a strike here in the 8th, or in the bottom of the 7th.
Now, over the years, Chris, we've spent a lot of time with a lot of managers, and almost to a man, it's the same story. And nights where you're wondering about your lineup the next day, especially when you're losing and on a losing streak. Here's the stretch on the 3-2 pitch to Tejada. This one drilled down the left field line, curving, long run. Schumacher, he got it! He got it! What a catch by Skip Schumacher! Man, that ball just turboed towards the warning track, and Schumacher, fully extended, hauls it in. A brilliant catch for the Reds left fielder.
Might be too early to call it a game-saving catch, but you really never know. I mean, if Schumacher can't come up with this brilliant effort, Tejada's at least on second base. Wow, what an effort by Schumacher.
Man, wherever you put him, he's going to give you a quality at bat and a quality play defensively. Great catch by Skip Schumacher.
You know, that's the kind of play that can fire your whole team up. I mean, you come out here, it's drizzly, there's a haze in the air, it's kind of a weird day anyway because you're starting in the 7th inning. That can get you going.
Here's Duda. This one lined to left. Schumacher's not going to get to this one. It's off the wall. Schumacher's throw coming into second. They got a shot at him, and he's going to be out. Oh, my. What a throw by Schumacher and a great relay. And Duda, I think, thought he had it made with ease. He slowed up around first. Might have been the bad footing, but what a back-to-back effort by Schumacher.
I'll tell you, it is a wet field, but Schumacher plays it perfectly and just throws it on the money.
Wow.
I mean, it was a no-doubt play at second base once the ball got there. Somebody's earned a steak dinner tonight.
How about that? Very seldom you'll see back-to-back plays any better than what number 55 just gave you. Man, oh, man. Wow. You know, Chris, the other side of that on that diving catch, fans will look at the catch and say that's a great catch, but this is a guy that, you know, missed the major part of a year with a shoulder injury, and we've seen him extend and dive for balls in spite of that injury. That's the way he plays the game.
Yeah. That's why he's a big leaguer. I mean, if he did not play the game like that, he wouldn't be in the major leagues.
So it'll go as a single for Duda, and then a 7-4 putout thanks to number 55. I mean, right there, it might have been the ball game. It would have been back-to-back doubles, and the Mets would have a run on the board. I mean, Duda's not a fast runner to start with, but it looked as he rounded first that, you know, it was almost like running at the Belmont Park on a muddy turf. It was, and I mean, I give.
You're saying he's not a mutter.
No. And Matthews gets the benefit of 2 great plays by Schumacher. Watch the greeting he'll get at the dugout. And we are still tied. Hours to give you our Miller Time moment from the ball game, but boy, it's worth it, Chris. What plays by Schumacher?
I'll tell you what, you come right out of bed, not really, but pretty close to it here when you start at 1:30 in the afternoon and you finish up late last night. But you got to be ready to play right from the very onset. Schumacher is on a catch and a throw. And they're loving the dugout.
That's a teammate, and that's a greeting. Outstanding. Standing O. Paul Lassard, the trainer, giving him a high five.
Be a whole different attitude in that dugout right there had he made only one of those plays or neither of those plays.
You're not kidding. There's Jay Bruce. Jay flied out, grounded out, and singled to right in his 3 plate appearances yesterday. We go to the top of the 8th inning. Bruce, Bird, and then Schumacher. And Robles will continue on the mound for the Mets. Boy, already an inning and a roller coaster. Reds load the bases, can't score. Mets have 2 bullets, but can't score either. That's a strike. 2-1. From the stretch is Robles. Outfield about straight away to him. The rain continues to mist down at Citi Field. At times it's a little heavier, but right now it's just a light mist. Pretty good crowd on hand. They had 28,000 yesterday, and of course many of them hung around as we waited to see if the game would be resumed because there's a Steve Miller Band concert scheduled for after the game. Here's Robles' delivery. That's fouled off, and when they finally did announce that the game would be suspended, they would not play yesterday and play today. The Mets announced that fans who are waiting around for the concert could get a ticket for today or for any other time later in the season. They were able to negotiate with the Steve Miller Band, so they will do their concert after the second game today. 2-2. High in the air to left center field, hit pretty good. Lagares back at the wall, reaching up, and he got it. Now the Gold Glover took one off the top of the wall, and one of the deepest parts of the ballpark, about 375 feet away, robs Bruce of at least extra bases. Another look.
Boy, this ball really sounds good coming off the bat. Again, a pitch up and out over the plate. Pitchers will never learn. And he nearly goes out the side door there in left center field. Yeah, there was a lot of wind blowing earlier today, and it seems to have completely stopped. That ball is carrying pretty good when you get it up in the air. I thought both balls that were hit the left field carried well, and that one by Bruce really carried.
And that's a pop-up as Bird comes to the plate into right.
That one not so much.
Granderson under it, got it. 2 away. And ironically, the wind was blowing that way. It was blowing from right to left all day yesterday and earlier today. It probably would have been all Bruce needed to get it out of here. Now, what a day. The sun's starting to peek through a little bit. They're saying that eventually this front is scheduled to move through this afternoon. Well, here's Schumacher. Double, walk, and a fly ball out. And the 2 biggest defensive plays of this game for the Reds.
Well, come on, Skip.
He got a homer now. Complete the trifecta.
Absolutely.
One ball, 1 strike. Schumacher still looking for his first homer of the year. Wouldn't it be nice right now? Dribbled in front of the plate. Robles gloves it, and they'll get the out. So Bruce almost gives the Reds the lead. Not to be. Going to the bottom of 8. Flores will lead it off. game and then the regular game. Be sure to stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda, for a complete recap and interviews from the locker room and the final story of today's and yesterday's two ball games. Join Jeff Caporo, Brian Giesenslaw, and the crew as they keep us up to date on Reds baseball. After today's game, we'll have a post-game show, no pregame show for the second game, which will come 30 minutes after game one. And then another post-game to come your way. Yeoman's work, as usual this weekend, from everybody back in the studios. And, of course, back in Cincinnati, you've got Pick and Brian, and as always, man in the fort, Kent Dreamweaver and Ron Millinor, not just for pre and post game, but they're put together some great programming for the All-Star game that'll be coming your way this coming month. And great to have you here as Ryan Matthews goes back to work facing Wilmer Flores, the shortstop. Flores popped up, struck out, and singled to left in his 3 plate appearances yesterday. Great to have you with us down in the truck here. Josh Hall, our producer. Roy Alfers, our director. Matt Sigafus dialing up some highlights. The great pictures of the tremendous catches and throw by Schumacher. That's a shot down the left field line, but it's going to go foul. And it's in the upper deck. A big time shot. And Jimmy Miller, of course, bringing us some graphic details of today's ball game. Great to have you with us from Citi Field in New York, where the Reds and the Mets each have won 148 games in their long storied history. The Reds have a 166 and 120 record against the Mets at home, but here it's 148-148. And over the years, Chris, we've been here for some interesting games, some long ones, and some at times spectacular ball games. 2-2. Foul past Tim Tuffle, the third base coach for the Mets, their former outstanding second baseman. And over at first, Tommy Goodwin, former Major League outfielder. Timmy can still move those puppies.
He better, or else they're going to have some bruises on them.
Getting some grief from the Reds dugout right next to him. 2-2. Down and in, ball 3. Umpires remaining the same from yesterday. Tom Woodring behind the plate, Ed Hickox at first, Mike Estabrook at second, and Dana DeMuth, the crew chiefs, down at third. Full count, 3-2 to the leadoff batter here in the bottom of the 8th. Matthews to the stretch. In the hole, tough play. This guy can run. And it's high. It pulls him off the bag, and safe at first is Flores.
You know, it's one of those tough plays where you try to get something on the ball, but you don't have time to take a crow hop. So you plant your feet, you fire, and you just throw a little bit high. On the money, except for the height.
Might have beat it anyways.
Yeah, you know, you're really not sure. I mean, that's the reason why you've got to get rid of it so quickly.
Infield hit in the hole. Good job by Ivan just to make it close. And I don't know that if a perfect throw would have had him. So here's Lagares. Let's see if they'll try to sacrifice him to second. Juan, a good bunter. Lagares bounced to short, bounced to second, and bounced into a 6-4 fielder's choice, 0 for 3. In tight, 3 steps in front of the bag at third is Frazier. Lagares shows bunt, gets it down, but foul.
You know what? When you've got the infielders charging the way they do, and I mean Frazier's coming hard, Votto's coming hard, the pitcher's coming up to shoot, there is no way you're going to get a bunt for a base hit. So why even try? And that was really what Lagares was doing. He was running at the same time he was bunting. I mean, this is a bunt situation where your whole reason for bunting is not to pick up a base hit and put 2 guys on base, but to move that runner over to second.
Short lead for the speedy Flores, down at first. Showing bunt again. Popped up. What will they do? They'll catch it in foul territory, and there's the out. Frazier looked at the runner, then looked where the ball was to see if it would land in fair territory. If it wasn't fair territory, would have let it drop, and they might have got 2 out of it. But here, no decision because it's in foul territory. The little things about the game, the inability to get the sacrifice down. So now there's 1 out, a runner at first, and Matthews can get out of this if he can get a ground ball.
Well, I could go on and on about the bad mechanics of what I see everyday players bunting. But we don't have time. It's already the 8th inning.
Kevin Plawecki hitting in the 7th spot. Eric Campbell's in the on-deck circle with the pitcher spot due up next.
Plawecki's a young man that grew up right north of Indianapolis, right in the middle of Reds country, really, although he grew up a Chicago Cubs fan.
Dribbled down to third. That'll kick foul. Every field is different. At Shea Stadium, there was about almost a foot of dirt to the fair side of the foul line. Here at Citi Field, there's only about 6 inches of dirt. And very often, any ball that rolls down the line is going to kick foul because it'll hit that rim of the grass and roll foul. That was a perfect example of it. One ball, 1 strike. Short lead for Flores. Not going, they'll chase him back.
Plawecki, 24 years old, former #1 draft pick the Mets had in 2012. Injuries have got him here to the big leagues in a hurry.
Runner not going. Rip, but foul. Travis d'Arnaud, the catcher they acquired from Toronto, was the starting catcher. He broke a finger, was on the disabled list, came back, and 2 weeks later he's back on the disabled list again. Coming back down in Atlanta this past week, tried to extend himself to make a tag at the plate and twisted his elbow. So he's back on the DL. Joining the third baseman David Wright, Murphy the second baseman, who spent extended time on the DL. Popped up. Can anybody get there? Long run, Votto reaching up, looking up, got it. Good job by Joey to get over there pronto. Nobody else had a chance to get there.
That's a nice play by Votto. It really is. Just takes concentration. The ball's going away from you. You're coming up on the stands. You know, you're not exactly sure where they are, but you know where you're coming up on them. And boy, anytime you get a foul ball out, that is like a gimme.
Well, here's Eric Campbell, who will pinch hit. And out comes Jeff Pico, the pitching coach, to make sure they've got the scouting report on this backup third baseman. Both of these relief pitchers have had reason to raise their high fives. And now they send Campbell back. And Johnny Monell will come up. So Monell will come in and pinch hit. There were 2 lefties on the bench and 2 righties. Campbell and John Mayberry Jr., the righties. Monell and Siciliani. Siciliani used earlier in the game. So Monell comes in to pinch hit. Round right behind the bag. Pena will take it, and DeJesus will take it himself, and Pena pumps his right hand in the air to Matthews as he gets out of another jam. Going to the 9th, still tied at 1. Ohio, being brought to you by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Heavy downpour yesterday, misting most of yesterday morning and then part of yesterday evening, and then boy, almost 3 inches of rain during the course of the overnight hours. And now the sun's trying to peek its way through. Gary's Familia, who, if you're going to name a most valuable player for the Mets in the first half of the year, it's this guy who took over as the closer when Mejia was suspended for 80 games for PED use. And how about those numbers, Chris? 21 of 23 in saves.
Well, he's only 25 years old, and he's been in the major leagues parts of each of the last 4 seasons. Made his major league debut when he was 22, young man out of Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Signed by the Mets 2007 as a international free agent.
Had a 1-2-3 ninth on Friday to pick up save number 21 on the year. Here's De Jesus to lead it off. The big right-hander deals up high. Devon 0 for 3, but 3 pretty good at bats. In the second inning of this game yesterday, with runners at first and second, he hit a line drive to right. Rather, at second and third, he hit a line drive to right. Unfortunately, it was hit so hard that Granderson came in to make the catch. Marlon Byrd went back to tag at third, but with the rain coming down, his foot slipped on the bag, so he never had the chance to test the arm of Granderson and try to score. Could have been a sacrifice fly that gave the Reds a lead at that time. Second time up, he hit a fly ball pretty deep to right. So 2 good at bats. He's 0 for 3 stepping in here in the ninth, and here's a 3-0 count with Dominguez on deck. And now with the sun peeping out, Flores is going to ask for his glasses. That's the biggest upset of the last 2 days. Somebody needing glasses here. The sun looked like a no-show.
You know what, though? Good move by Flores to ask for them now.
Yep.
Before you need them.
That's a strike.
How many times have we seen a player miss a pop-up because of the sun and then have somebody from the dugout run out of a pair of glasses to pitch after he misses the pop-up? Those are old-fashioned flip downs. You don't see too many of those anymore.
Swing and a miss, 3-2.
You probably have some pair of those that cut the grass with.
You know, I still do. I never did use them even when I had them. Did you?
No.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Fouled off. You know, the other thing I still have, I had 2 of them. I gave one to a former player who was a coach and was afraid of getting hit by a line drive. Remember the inserts you used to put in your hat?
Oh, sure.
The plastic inserts before they had the helmets? Still have that. I don't know how much they would have protected us if we ever got hit.
Yeah, that's a good question.
3-2.
Never wanted to find out.
Dribble back over the mound, takes a tricky hop. Flores there in the dirt, makes the play. A meandering ground ball that kicked strangely off the mound and then took another tricky hop off the grass, but Flores handled it well.
You got to figure the footing is still very slow. For the runners going up the baseline, we've seen guys really plodding, and even more than normal, and the grass is still probably wet because it rained here this morning with the tarp off the field. So it's not exactly a fast track.
Here's Chris Dominguez, a homer, 3 knocked in. He pitch hits in the pitchers in the number 8 spot with Pena, who pinch hit for the pitcher in the on-deck circle in the 9th spot. De Jesus had a 3-0 count before eventually grounding out, and it's 2-0 now to Dominguez. And second straight batter, Familia's gone 3-0-2. He's got some power. Good matchup here. Lively fastball, good fastball hitter. That's a strike.
Now, according to the scouting reports that I have gotten off of Familia, or from about Familia, is that he throws mostly a two-seam sinking fastball. But in this game, when he's missed upstairs.
Sent up inside is Plawecki. Down the third base line, but foul.
Going to get some new lumber.
Sawed him off. Broken bat will get a new piece. Second straight full count for Familia. The Mets do expect to get Mejia back. He just started his rehab down in the Gulf Coast League, so he's probably a week or two away from coming back. 97 beats Dominguez. Strikeout number 1 for Familia, out number 2, and here comes Pena.
Yeah, not only 97, but look at the action, really running right in on Dominguez. And in order to hit that inside fastball, you've got to get it out in front of the plate. That's why we'll call that strikeout our flamethrower of the day, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce at 97. Boy, I mean, is there anybody that the Mets run out there that doesn't throw 97?
Syndergaard on Friday, Harvey on Saturday. Familia. 2 of the 3 days.
Some of the middle relievers, maybe your lefty specialist, but well, they have some arms that seems like everybody's throwing 93, 94 now, but so 97 is the next echelon.
And Pena drills this one in the left for a base hit. So Pena 2 for 2, a base hit to right and this base hit to left. He makes it look simple, doesn't he? It's a good lesson for young hitters.
Well, his approach is simple, and I still think it's fascinating the way he holds the bat. He's got a little separation between his top hand and his bottom hand, and he does that so he doesn't roll over on pitches. And it's almost like he's traded in any chance of a long ball for contact and batting average. There's something to be said for a guy that can put the ball in play.
Here's Brandon. Doubled in the Reds' lone run back in the 5th inning yesterday and bounced out a 1-4-3 ground out in the 1st inning, the 7th inning, once we picked up play today. You figure the Mets will have a even more effective bullpen. That's a pretty good bullpen already once they get Mejia back. Dribbled down to third, charging, throwing to Hada, and they get him. Good job by Duda to get out of the way as the throw tailed into the line. But the Reds get another runner, strand another. They've stranded 9. We're still tied at 1, going to the bottom of 9.
2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Reds.com. Voting is exclusively online and available on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Help select the starting lineup for the 2015 All-Star Game held in the Queen City. Vote Frazier, vote Votto, vote Phillips, vote Reds today at Reds.com. I'm Jim Day. Obviously, we're picking up yesterday's suspended game, and MLB treats this like a doubleheader, meaning that the Reds and the Mets are able to add a 26th player to the roster for game number 2. That 26th player will be Jason Bourgeois, but don't expect it to be a one-game stint. Bourgeois has been on a rehab stint in Louisville, and his time is up. And it was either activate him or release him, and they certainly don't want to do that because with Christopher Negron sent back down to Louisville, they need a true center fielder, someone that can play out there in center field. So Bourgeois will be activated. A 40-man roster move will have to be made, but most likely that will be procedural as they've yet to put Devin Mesoraco or John Moscott on the 60-day DL. So Jason Bourgeois, welcome back.
JD, take us behind the scenes when Skip Schumacher came to the dugout after those 2 plays.
Well, he's one of those guys that's so respected on this team, a true leader, and not known for his defensive prowess. He plays in the infield and the outfield. But as you guys showed, a standing ovation for Skip Schumacher, and a little bit of ribbing as usual. What a couple of back-to-back plays, huh?
Yeah, you're not kidding. Here's J.J. Hoover, Chris.
Well, J.J. is dependable as our oldest Chapman. If you're asking the question why Chapman isn't in the ball game, the way Brian Price has played it for the most part this year is you save your closer on the road for a save situation if you're fortunate enough to get to one. And JJ has been a real savior for this ball club. He has picked up a save in the absence of Chapman, who was away on paternity leave. He got that in his hometown of Pittsburgh. I mean, since the one game in Milwaukee, we've talked about it, we call it the Grand Slam game, in which there were 3 Grand Slams hit that night. J.J. Hoover gave up 4 runs in that game, and he's been pretty much perfect ever since. And that is a long stretch going back 2 months.
2 balls, 2 strikes to the second baseman, Dilson Herrera. Breaking ball just misses.
That's a nice, tight little slider. J.J.'s got a bigger curveball that he uses from time to time, but that tight little slider right there is the one he normally gets a lot of swings and misses on.
Full count, 3-2. High in the air, it's going to stay in the park. Here comes Schumacher. There, got it, 1 away. Looked
like he got it
off the end of the bat. 1 away, and here's Granderson. He has been the most effective hitter and most effective run producer that the Mets have had in the last couple of weeks. The average back up over 250. He's had 2 homers in this series, 2 hits in this game, a double and then a home run in the third. His 13th homer of the year that gave the Mets a 1-0 lead.
I mean, if Granderson had not played in this series, the Mets would not have scored.
Yep. Reunited with his hitting coach from New York, Kevin Long, and he's tweaked his stance a little bit, tweaked his approach a little bit, and it's paying dividends in the leadoff spot. And ahead in the count, 2-0. Starting on Friday night, it was a leadoff homer, his 4th leadoff homer of the year, 32nd of his career, that gave the Mets a 1-0 lead. And then yesterday in the third with 2 outs, this one goes the other way to left. Just over the fence of the pulled in fences here at Citi Field. At Citi, of course, they pulled the fences in twice. When they first opened, it was a mammoth stadium, and they pulled them in left center and also right center. Did he go? No, he didn't. Oh, boy.
Pretty close right there.
Well, Granderson has stolen 5, been caught twice. Earlier in his career, more likely to run. Does not run often now.
Now, the Fox track shows that pitch should be well outside. Evidently, Brian Pena's setting up way out there. Looked a lot closer at first look.
1 out, 1 on. Here's Tejada. Tejada led off the 7th with a line drive to left center that Schumacher made a diving catch of to prevent a double. And then right after that, Duda hit one off the wall, and Schumacher threw him out trying to go for 2. Strike 1 from JJ. That kicks all the way to the backstop, and in the scoring position is Granderson. Wild pitch.
Sometimes you throw a pitch so bad the catcher's got no chance.
One away, runner at second. Tejada, good handler of the bat at the plate, and tries to check it, can't do it, fouls it off. 1-2.
J.J. Hoover's fastball, if you just measure him by the radar gun, he's only moderately impressive. I mean, he can throw up to 94 miles an hour, but he's never been a guy that throws 97 or 98. But he's got a quick arm, and that ball really gets on hitters faster than they anticipate.
Hoover to the stretch. Granderson off second. Breaking ball down and away. 2-2.
I mean, if you just watch Hoover from the time he takes that ball out of his glove until the time it's coming out of his hand, I mean, it is much quicker than most pitchers as far as their arm swing goes, how they load up on the rubber, and they finally end up going the throw to the plate.
Now bright sunshine raining down on Citi Field.
Advantage pitcher.
Hop back and out of play, right side.
I say the advantage pitcher. I never gave it any thought until Wade Boggs used to really talk about it at length, about how day games are more difficult to hit in than night games, because when those sunny days would come around and you're standing in the batter's box, all of a sudden the sun comes out, you have to squint, and your pupils begin to get smaller and smaller and more difficult to see that baseball, at least temporarily. There was rumor that Ted Williams used to hang out in the batter's box, not get into the batter's box and be ready until he saw a cloud coming, and then he wanted to get in there when the cloud came in. That was the secret to hitting 400. You believe that, George?
No.
Neither do I.
Talk about great eyesight. The fighter pilot eyesight was something that most humans never had.
Yeah.
Oh, we go full 3-2 with Duda on deck. Crowd of 32,000 plus trying to get into this game. That's ball 4. So here comes Duda, back-to-back walks. And in this series, when the Reds have walked folks, they've walked them back-to-back. Yesterday, it was Lorenzen who walked back-to-back hitters in the 6th inning to load the bases before Parra came in to get out of the jam. And you remember on Friday night, same story for Johnny Cueto. Cueto, who allowed only 2 hits in the game, gave up a triple to Herrera in the 5th and then walked 3 straight batters, and that gave the Mets a 2-1 lead. Well, here's Duda. A little high for a ball. Duda struck out, flied out, singled, and singled his last time up off the wall and left, and then was thrown out trying to stretch it to 2. Reds double play depth, middle of the infield. The Reds will often overshift on Duda, but with a double play situation, they'll overshift on the right side and keep Ivan De Jesus close to the bag at second. And they're also trying to keep Granderson as close as they can to second. With a runner on second, Pena and Hoover trying to get together on the sign.
I would imagine that early in the count, J.J. Hoover's going to want to keep the ball down. Maybe look for a double play ball. Duda is primarily a fly ball hitter, but he has grounded into 7 twin killings, and early in the count, so you get 2 strikes. That's the way you want to go.
Rip, but foul.
Now, once you get 2 strikes on Duda, if you get to that count, then you can run the ball up the ladder. J.J. Hoover gets a lot of strikeouts against left-handers up.
Yes, on the corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He throws a fastball low and in, and that one right on the black.
Tried to get him to fish for it, won't do it, and we're even at 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Good spot for a pitch, and it's a really good job by Duda not to fish at that one.
That's a curveball down and in. Cueto got him twice in the first game of the series, once on a changeup, once on a curveball down and in. 2-2. They got a shot for 1, and that's all. So the runners will advance to second and third on the 4-3 putout. Go ahead run sitting down at third. And Tejada goes to second, and that'll bring up Michael Kadire. Kadire, the veteran free agent who signed a 2-year deal with the Mets in the offseason, coming from Denver. Line to left, double to left, bounced into a fielder's choice yesterday, and then struck out in his first at bat today. Just missing for ball 1. '25th pitch of the inning coming up for JJ. Second game of the doubleheader. Josh Smith will pitch for the Reds, and Steven Matz will make his major league debut for the Mets. We talk about the bright, young, hard-throwing pitchers that the Mets have, and we saw Harvey, we saw Syndergaard, and Matz is the next in line, Chris.
They say he's maybe one of the best of all of them, not from a stuff standpoint, but from pitchability.
Popped up. Phillips shading from the sun. Got it. So the Mets threaten, but Hoover gets out of another jam. A couple of walks. He dodges the bullet. Votto leads it off, and we return. second day baseball, but bonus baseball. Extra innings presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky all season long. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side. Here we go to the 10th. Joey Votto will lead it off. Votto flied out, struck out, and walked against Torres in the 7th inning here today. Familia in for his second inning. Not odd for him. 4 times he's had saves of 4 outs or more, so they're not afraid to use him multiple innings. And Joey trying to get the Reds rolling in the 10th. Frazier and Bruce due to follow. 14 homers, 36 knocked in for the Reds first baseman. High in the air down the left field line. Tejada gives chase. He'll run out of room. Mets will have an abundance of riches when they get Mejia back, with both Familia and Mejia available after Mejia comes off his suspension and then rehab. And it leads people to wonder if the Mets might use one of their closers to get the bat that they need for the stretch run. Their offense has struggled. That's wide. 2-2.
Well, if you're wondering about how these two teams do in extra innings, the Mets have only played 4 games. They're 3-1. The Reds have played 9 extra inning games. They've won 4, lost 5.
2-2. Setting up away. That's foul back.
Well, Votto is hacking like he wants to end it right here and now.
Very seldom do you see him at the 2-strike juncture take a swing like that. Usually it's a choke up swing and base hit swing. From the stretch, Familia. That's a ball. We'll go full 3-2.
90-mile-an-hour slider.
Chapman like, huh? Now you talk about Ted Williams, Chris, and you watch Joey right there. Remember Ted Williams once watching him talk to minor leaguers in Winter Haven when he was at the Red Sox, and he talked about a 2-strike situation. He said, I see you guys choke up. He said, you don't have to choke up on the bat. I want you to choke up mentally. And watch Joey. He just gets tighter, smaller. He brings his hands in closer to his body. It's a mental approach, not just a physical approach to choking up.
Great point.
That's a walk. Votto walks for the second time. So the leadoff hitter on for the Reds. And here come the 2 big home run bats, Frazier and Bruce. Todd was 1 for 4 in game 1 of the series, a single. And so far in game 2, he's 0 for 4. He's risen to the occasion so many times for the Reds, not just with game-winning hits, but starting a rally or keeping a rally going. Familia from the stretch. Down and in for a ball. Kind of reminds you of Sean Casey in that Casey didn't always get the winning hit when he was with the Reds, but how many times did you see him keep a rally going or start a rally and do the little things to get things moving? As Jerry Narron would say, keep the line moving. Frazier steps out, looks at Jim Riggleman, who rolls through signs at third. Billy Hatcher, as usual, down in the first base coach's box for the Reds. Here's the 1-1. Here are those numbers we talked about earlier, Chris, when it comes to Frazier in these situations. He's been money in the bank.
7th inning or later, 2 runs or less. Well, you know, not only is that 97, but it's got action on it.
Movement.
I mean, that ball is really moving all over the place. Saw Frazier jumping out of the way of that little pitch. A lot of two-seamers at that speed. That's normally you see four-seam fastballs coming in a hair faster, as registered by that radar.
2-2.
That is just flat out nasty right there. Man. I mean, what do? You take a good swing at what you think you see, but not only is it 98 miles, was that maybe that was a splitter. I didn't know he threw one like that, at least in that position.
It's almost a little bit like Scott Williamson used to throw. It's a slider that comes out looking like a splitter. A little tumble to it. Well, here's Jay. Bruce hit one to the wall in left center. Down to second. They'll get one on to first. Not in time. Well, the Reds will live on with a base runner with 2 away. When we resumed the ball game in the 7th, the Reds had the bases loaded, couldn't score. In the 9th, they had a base hit from Pena, couldn't score, and here in the 10th, a runner, and have not been able to score as yet either. Here's Marlin, single, lined out, bounced into a double play, and flied out. You were remarking about Matt Harvey as you watched him and his delivery. You look at Familia, a power pitcher, but he gives you that little extra wrinkle, a high left leg kick, and then throws the left arm and the glove out in front. A little more deception.
Well, it also helps him load up on the mound and keep his weight back, so he can really push off. I mean, you see his right foot fire off that rubber. I mean, he is using his legs, back, and arm to get that kind of velocity and power.
No balls, 2 strikes. Setting up inside, Plawecki. Broken bat, dribbled down to third. Here comes Tejada. The throw will be not in time. Tejada was playing deep. Made it a lot closer than you thought it would be. Well, the Reds have 2 on and 2 out.
Major league saw job right there, but Marlon Byrd will hustle, and he's still got a little bit of wheels left on him. Tejada's playing very deep, almost protecting against a double, because the double would have scored the runner from first base. And on a slow track, Marlon Byrd legs it out.
Wherever he's been, nobody runs harder on ground balls than that guy. So first and second, Bruce with the go-ahead run out at second. And here's Schumacher. 2 away. Down low for a ball. Skip, a double and a walk in 4 plate appearances in this ball game. He joined us late. He came up with what was probably a game saver in the 7th. 2 great defensive plays back to back in left field. Bruce, big lead, inching off the bag at second. In the dirt, 1-1. Can't say for sure, Chris, but you're sitting at 35 pitches for Familia right now, which means the chances of him showing up in game number 2 are pretty slim.
Well, you don't know.
Yep.
I would imagine you're probably right about that. One thing that does tell you, though, that Terry Collins not afraid to use his closer for multiple inning appearance.
Looped and caught. Tejada tried to leap, and as the ball knuckled at him, he was able to keep his feet to glove that. If it gets through, it's a run. But the athletic third baseman saves a run with this catch. And we're still tied at 1 going to the bottom of 10. And Flores, Lagares, Plawecki due up. BB, Burt Badenhop coming in, Chris.
Well, you got to use your bullpen. And it'll be Burke Badenhop now. 26 games for Burke. Got off to a really kind of a very slow start. Gave up a lot of runs. But lately, that earned run average, you can throw that right out the window because it's such a short sample size with relievers. But he's throwing the ball much better now. And the Reds need him to.
Had 2 ugly appearances in April, and he's been playing catch-up ever since. And when you look at his numbers of late, and his last 12 appearances, 14 2/3 innings, his ERA's been under 2 at 1.84. Now they're hoping more of the same from Burke Badenhop. They'll face Flores, who led off the 8th with a base hit, is 2 for 4 in this ball game. Lagares and Plawecki will follow. Michael Lorenzen started yesterday, 5 2/3, 6 hits, 1 run. Manny Parra got the final out before the game was suspended yesterday. Ryan Matthews, Hoover, now Badenhop here today. Daniel Murphy's had 6 hits in his last 2 rehab games. They expect to get him back as early as this coming week. When they do, with the uncertainty of what's going to happen at third base with David Wright, they'll probably put, Terry Collins has said he'll most likely put Murphy at third. Take Flores, put him back at second, which is his natural position, and then move Tejada, who's playing third today, back to short. Hit hard, down to short. Ivan De Jesus cleanly takes care of that, 1 away. Ivan played all over the infield and outfield down at AAA. This is the first game he started at shortstop here at the major league level this year. Solid defender. You don't expect it to be anything different from the bloodlines of his dad, who was an outstanding defensive infielder. Good fundamentals. Papa taught him well, Chris.
Yes, he did.
Here's the center fielder, Lagares. 3 ground balls and a pop-up. In the 8th, after Flores had reached on an infield hit, Lagares was sent up to sacrifice, and he popped it up. This one hit pretty good. Right center, Bird over, cruising, got it. Marlon Byrd, been tested in this game yesterday, had 4 tougher than average plays to make in center field, made all of them, and went a long way to get that one. There's Plawecki with 2 away in the 10th.
Well, Bird played here a couple of years ago. I can't remember if he was the opening day center fielder or not. I suspect he was. He's been the opening day center fielder in a number of different places.
Philadelphia?
He has been. Philadelphia, I think in Chicago. So where he is right now certainly isn't out of position.
Frazier can't get that one under his glove into left. It's a base hit for Plawecki. So a 2-out base hit. In fact, I think Bird was in the starting lineup for the Phillies when we played that first game down in Philadelphia when they opened the new ballpark. That day, I think he was in left field. Still can patrol the center field.
Don't let anything behind you. That's what that means right there.
No doubles.
Which means if you have to hug the warning track, hug the warning track.
There comes Gary Matthews Jr. out of the dugout. He will pinch hit in the pitcher spot.
You know, it's interesting that Bird, we saw him make that little move out there, which, you know, don't let the ball behind you, but he shouted over to Jay Bruce until he finally got the attention of Bruce and made that same motion to him, and Bruce just backed up about 6 steps. So he's almost like having another coach out there.
Here's Mayberry. They brought him in to be their best bet off the bench. He has struggled as a pinch hitter, trying to deliver right here. Badenhop to the stretch to Mayberry. And at 184, 3 homers and 9 knocked in. He'll be swinging from the heels here. In at 0-2. Familia goes 2 innings, allowing 2 hits, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. We've watched him through his career. John Mayberry Jr., a brilliant young player coming up. Senior was pretty good too, Chris. And a joy to be around. No balls, 2 strikes. That's down and away.
You know, he's been around a long time, John Mayberry Jr., but he's never really kind of fulfilled the promise that they thought they had in him when he first came up with the Phillies. And he's one of these guys who's a big frame guy, 6'6". That's an awful lot of strike zone to cover.
Did he go? 2-2. Ooh.
That swing has multi-parts.
Trying to end an 0 for 14 string is Mayberry, and he's only 2 for 22 as a pinch hitter this year. Got him. So Badenhop gives up a base hit, but gets out of the 10th. We're going to 11. Bottom of the order, starting with Ivan De Jesus. Jerky all season long. Jack Link's beef jerky. Feed your wild side. Bonus baseball for you here on now. It is a bright and sun-shining Sunday afternoon at Citi Field in New York. We've had all 4 seasons during the course of this weekend. And here's Logan Verrett who'll take over. If you joined us late yesterday, Matt Harvey pitched 6 innings, allowed 5 hits and a run, 90 pitches for the Mets. Carlos Torres started when we picked up the suspended game today. Alex Torres followed. Robles. Familia pitched 2 innings, and here's the next right-hander for the Mets, Logan Verrett.
That is a 25-year-old. He was originally drafted by the Mets 2011. They got him out of Baylor. He is also from the Corpus Christi area in Texas.
There's the shortstop, Ivan De Jesus, to lead it off. 2 fly ball outs and 2 ground outs, 0 for 4. Sixth pitcher used by the Mets. For the Reds, yesterday Michael Lorenzen pitched grade 5 2/3, 6 hits, 1 run. Manny Parra got the last out. Matthews, Hoover, then Badenhop here today. Swing and a miss, and De Jesus is retired. So Mike Leake will come in to pinch hit in the pitcher spot. Here the 8th spot in the order. See the numbers for Mike this year: a homer and 2 knocked in. Good solid offensive player. Down the first base line, Duda will glove it. They'll get the out, and quickly the Reds have 2 away here in the 11th. And here comes the catcher, Pena. Pena came in to pinch hit in the 7th when the Reds had something cooking. Barnhart single, Pena pinch hit for the pitcher and single. Then Billy Hamilton came in to pinch run for Barnhart. So Hamilton has been used. Pena's been used. Chris Dominguez has been used. Suarez still available for the Reds on the bench. This is the 4th game for Verrett since coming up from AAA. He's allowed 1 run in 4 2/3 innings of work. Pena, since coming on in the 7th, is 2 for 2. Single to left, single to right. Still to come, of course, after this game is concluded. They'll have a 30-minute break. We'll have Reds Live post-game, and then the final game of the series, Josh Smith for the Reds against Steven Matz of the Mets, making his major league debut. And then for everybody here at Citi Field, the Steve Miller Band concert. That's probably one of the reasons why there's 32,000 plus here.
He'll have plenty of time to get warmed up.
Line drive center field. Lagares got it. Hit pretty good 3 times in a row by Pena, but that finds leather in center. Reds go 1-2-3. Herrera when we return. Well, going to the bottom of the 11th, thanks to Skip Schumacher, this game isn't over. Schumacher came up with 2 brilliant plays in the 7th when we resumed the game. Ruben Tejada hits this line drive towards the warning track. Schumacher makes a diving stab of it for the first out. And then right after that, Lucas Duda, the next pitch, hits one off the wall. Duda tries to stretch it into 2. A perfect throw from Schumacher. And Duda's nailed at second. Boy, did he get high fives, and that prevented the Mets from scoring a run that would have ended this one. Schumacher back and left. We go to the bottom of 11 and the bottom of the order due up for the Mets. Dilson Herrera. For the Mets, as we look at their roster, Eric Campbell still available to pinch hit. And Carlos Contreras comes in to take over. And you would figure, Chris, that we're at the stage of the game right now with who has been used that Contreras would be in for multiple innings.
Well, it's a balancing act that you have to have as a manager. So when you bring a guy in, how many innings do you think he can pitch versus when does he come up at the plate and can he help you at all offensively? So Badenhop goes 1. Leake comes to pinch hit. Now you've got to use another pitcher. You really never know how long this game is going to go. So you're right. Contreras is probably in there for multiple innings if he can throw up enough zeros.
Herrera flied out, struck out, walked, and flied out in his 4 plate appearances. 1 ball, 1 strike from the right-hander. Phillies got rained out of their game with Washington last night. That rain that eventually moved in here. They're in the 6th inning of today's game. Washington leads 3-2 at Philadelphia. Dodgers lead Miami 1-0. They're in the 7th inning in South Florida. Atlanta leads the Pirates 1-0 in the 6th. Minnesota and Milwaukee are scoreless in the 3rd. Everything else in the National League still to come. Contreras from the stretch. High fly ball, way foul. Up in the 2nd deck down the left field line.
Herrera, one of those rare players who is from the country of Colombia. From Cartagena. We've had some players in the Reds that have been from Colombia, but by far of all the Latin countries, there were probably the fewest number of baseball players from Colombia compared to Venezuela, Mexico, Dominican Republic, and so on.
Phillips battling the sun. Will haul it in. 1 away. Herrera retired. Back to the top of the order. Granderson. He's been the Mets offense of late. This series included, this game included. The lone run the Mets have came off his bat, a homer back in the 3rd inning yesterday. A little low, 3-0. Been to the plate 5 times. He's been on base 4 times in this game. That's a hard hit ball off the glove of Votto into the corner. Granderson rounds first, goes to second. He'll stop there as Bruce finally digs it out in the corner. An error on Joey Votto at first.
Never want to let a ball go between your glove and the dirt. Although that ball was hit very sharply, as just about everything Granderson has hit in this series has been hit well.
So the winning run's out at second. And here's Tejada with one away in the 11th. I mean, make no mistake about it, give Bill Deacon and his grounds crew a lot of credit for all the rain we've had the last couple of days. The field looks pretty good, but it is pretty tricky out there. So any ball on the ground, not an easy ground ball in any respect. But that one got under Votto's glove into right field, and sitting at second after the error is Granderson. Tejada bounced out, double, lined out, robbed of a hit on that catch by Schumacher, and walked in the ninth. That's up high. Granderson turns around, checks to see where the outfielders are. Everybody's in a step or two at each of the three outfield positions. Hopeful, if a base hit comes their way, of making a play at the plate. And you would expect, whether you're Tim Tuffle, the third base coach for the Mets, or Jim Riggleman for the Reds, you're going to roll the dice and send somebody. On ball, 2 strikes. Yes, missing on the corner. We're even 2-2. Lucas Duda on deck. Way wide, will go full. That'll head foul. Brandon Phillips trying to buy a step or two as he fakes Granderson back to second. Slap foul again as Tejada hangs in there. Rattle the cage a little on this one, Chris.
He got a direct one.
Got the shoulder, too. We're in the 11th. One away. Granderson, after the error, sitting at second. Here's the 3-2 to Tejada. Tenth pitch of the at bat coming up. Tejada hanging in. And it'll be an 11th pitch.
One of the areas of the game that Carlos Contreras has really improved in is his ability to throw strikes. I mean, he walked nearly a batter an inning last year. He's really much better this year, but never so tested that in a situation like this, in a 3-2 count, he just keeps piling strike after strike.
Phillips dips in behind Granderson, and then Pena will come out and call time. Pep talk from the catcher for Carlos. And the 11th pitch of the at bat, and that's ball 4. So Tejada is on for the 3rd time in this ball game. That puts runners at first and second. Double play still in order, although Duda primarily a fly ball hitting operative. Duda 2 for 5 in the game. Last time up, with runners at first and second, bounced out to the second baseman Phillips. And the Reds will camp themselves at double play position, middle of the infield. De Jesus right behind the runner at second. Big swing. Good pitch and good spot, Chris.
Well, you know, Duda was up there looking for a first pitch fastball, figuring he walked the batter before him. He doesn't want to get behind to me, so he's going to go ahead and throw something in there that's going to be called a strike. And not only did he throw it in a good spot, but he took something off of it.
Oh, and 2. Michael Kadire on deck for the Mets. Duda had a great month of May, but has struggled in June. Provided some early power, now in at 10 home runs. Good block by Pena. Great job by Pena. That's about the toughest spot, down and in and right at the front of the plate. Got him.
I don't think he threw him a strike in that entire at bat. Did he foul off that pitch? No, he thinks he did, but he is being told to return to the bench.
They'll argue, but to no avail, and the Reds get the out. So second out of the inning, they can drop the infield back a step, and the outfielders too.
It's a good job of scouting right there by the Reds. You know, they know with the matchup that Contreras, what he offers as far as his pitches, and what the weaknesses of Duda would be. And they just kept throwing the same pitch down there, and Duda could not lay off of it.
Here's Kadire 1 for 5 in the game. Fouled off for strike 1. He doubled to lead off the 4th yesterday and got as far as 3rd, but they couldn't get him in the 1-1 game. From the stretch, Contreras up high. Hit hard, and it is just foul. That's the ball game if it's 6 inches the other way. Even with Frazier hugging the line, that was a rocket shot. Dana DeMuth right on top of it. 1-2. Great job by Contreras to battle back. He makes up for the error by Votto that got the potential winning run on. Back to work go the Reds. Top of the order up. Now some news and notes around Major League Baseball. Don't see this often, Chris. Clayton Kershaw, first time losing 3 straight games in his career as he lost with the Dodgers last night. The bad news for the Pirates, Andrew McCutchen left the game yesterday after being hit on the left elbow, but he is in today's lineup, so he apparently is okay. And Robinson Cano, close call, hit in the head while standing in the dugout between pitches yesterday, did go through the concussion procedures afterwards, and he is okay. And, of course, for those of you that may have missed it, and the situation, the way it surrounds, in addition to those injuries, of course, Giancarlo Stanton was injured, and Stanton will be out for up to 6 weeks, Chris, and that's bad news for the Miami Marlins.
Well, it's kind of interesting, really, because the hamate bone is a bone that runs in the bottom of your hand, and that's what he is injured. Oftentimes they have a surgery on that, and they take that bone right out, and it takes a while to recover.
And bad news for Reds fans, because you know he would have been in the home run derby in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were really looking forward to watching Stanton in that home run contest.
Here's Brandon Phillips, a double in the 5th that knocked in the lone Reds run in this ball game. 1 for 5 in this game. Runs have been hard to come by. Hits have been hard to come by. And a lot of LOBs. Reds have left 11 on base. The Mets have left 15 on base. Neither team proficient when they've had the opportunities. Mets 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Just out in front of it a little bit. He'll drill it down the left field line towards the seats. It'll be in the first row. I don't think either Flores or Kadire thought they had a chance at it, but it was catchable. Neither one could get there. So another life for Phillips. 1-2. Hit pretty good center field. Lagares will have room, though. 1 away. Top of the 12th, 1 out for the Reds, and here comes Joey. Votto, 2 strikeouts and 2 walks in his 5 plate appearances.
And Joey took a 0 for the other night, so now looking at an 0 for 9 in this series. I would say he's due.
A fine time. Strike one from Verrett, and there's strike two pumped in. Verrett's second inning of work. Harvey started, Torres 2/3 of an inning, Carlos Torres, Alex Torres, Robles, Familia 2 innings, and now Verrett. That's slashed foul down the first base line. Memories of extra inning games for you here, Chris? Not at this stadium, but certainly Shea Stadium. We've all been here for a few.
Absolutely. There don't seem to be as many planes flying overhead as there used to be.
Flight patterns changed. Look out. Did that hit him?
Looked like Votto almost wanted to get in the way of that ball. When he turned completely away from the pitcher. Saying, oh, come on, if it hits me on a bounce, no problem at all. And of course, if a ball hits the ground first and then hits the batter, it is still considered a hit by pitch.
Well, Wiki got the worst of it, 1 and 2. They can't get together on the signs, and Joey will step out. Two and two. I remember a day years ago when Keith Hernandez was playing. Keith, of course, here broadcasting with the Mets. He and Ronnie Darling do the games on a regular basis. Hernandez talking about a young lady he was dating at the time who sat through the game and counted 82 jets going over the ballpark. This drill pretty good to right. Going back. Granderson at the warning track. He'll haul it in. Joey hit it right on the button. About 370 feet away in right center. Of course, we're closing in on one of the most monumental extra inning games. Didn't happen here. The Mets were involved in it. That was the game in Atlanta, that 24 inning game.
Don't even say that.
Man. That was the fireworks game at Old Fulton County Stadium.
A Rick Camp game.
Yeah. Proved that anybody could hit, right? They set the fireworks off about 4:30 in the morning.
That's before they put the fireworks ordinance in.
That's right.
Now when games go too long down there, and really just about in every municipality, that they're not allowed to set the fireworks off. They have the fireworks curfew. People around 4:30 in the morning in Atlanta thought it was time to get up, or they thought they were being invaded.
Here's Frazier 0 for 5. Big swing and a miss. 0 and 2. He's been 0 and 1, 0 and 2, 1 and 2 for 2 days. A lot of off speed, and combine that with Familia's 97-mile-an-hour fastball. This has been a power pitching Mets pitching staff. Off the heel of the glove by Flores, and Frazier will have his first hit of this game. So 1 for 6 is Frazier. With 2 outs, the Reds have a life. Even if Flores gloves it, unlikely he's going to be able to throw out Frazier. So let's see if Frazier tries one of his sneak attacks with Verrett on the mound.
And why not?
Yeah. Here's Bruce. Jay 1 for 5, a single back in the 6th inning. He almost gave the Reds a lead, or at the very least would have had a double. He hit one to left center that Lagares picked off the top of the wall to make a fine catch of it. Big swing there for strike 1. In fact, if I remember right, I think Ronnie Darling was the winning pitcher in that 19-inning game. He's doing the game today. He's here broadcasting today. There he is. Outstanding ball player, great broadcaster, and a brilliant athlete from Yale.
Looking good for a guy that is broadcasting a game that started 23 and a half hours ago.
Actually, he wasn't here yesterday.
Oh, he wasn't?
Keith was here yesterday.
Oh, he's picking up for Hernandez. So Hernandez is going to the bullpen, bringing in Darling.
He's got the day off. Tag team. Hit hard down to short. Flores has it, though. They'll get the out at first, and the Reds will strand a runner. Reds have stranded 12. The Mets have stranded 13. We're going to the bottom of 12, still tied at 1. Great to have you with us, George Grant, Chris Welch, Jim Day. JD, what's going on down there? You got any hits in your bat bag? We've been waiting to see if you'd come up with something.
I got nothing, but I'm just, like you said, living through the seasons down here. I've gone from starting very cool to putting on the rain poncho to now the coat off, sleeves up, sunglasses on. It has been one of those road trips, George.
We saw you slathering on the suntan lotion sitting back in the chair a little while ago.
No, I don't have any of that. If I had some sunscreen, I might put it on, but I didn't think I'd need it today.
Hang in there, buddy. Do your rally cap act down there, will you?
Well, if I had a cap, I would do it. I would do anything to get a run.
Here's Wilmer Flores as we go to the bottom of 12. Flores 2 for 5 in the game thus far. Single to left back in the 6th inning and a infield hit in the 8th inning when we picked the game up today. He leads it off. Lagares and Plawicki will follow against Carlos Contreras. Still to come, of course, the regularly scheduled Sunday game. Josh Smith, the rookie, will get the ball for the Reds, and Steven Matz will make his major league debut for the Mets. 3-0. That's a strike. Pop up into short left. Ivan De Jesus back and calling him off will be Schumacher, and he'll haul it in one away. A little bit of everything in this ball game. Some long ball. Curtis Granderson had a homer for the Mets yesterday. The lone run for the Reds came on a double from Brandon Phillips yesterday in the 5th inning that tied the game at 1 after Barnhart had reached on a double. And for Brandon Phillips, that marked the 31st straight game that he had a base hit against the Mets here in New York. Those are the only 2 runs. We've had some outstanding defense. Skip Schumacher today came up with back-to-back brilliant plays in left, or this game would be over now. And the Gold Glover Juan Lagares in center, who's at the plate now, came up with a fine catch on Bruce in left center field. Here's the 1-0. Showing bunt, pops it up. Who'll get there? Contreras picks up and not in time. His only chance really was to barehand it when it kind of snow coned in his glove. The speedy Lagares beat it out to first, so 1 out, 1 on.
He still makes a pretty nice play. Contreras does. He gets to this ball very quickly, sets himself and fires it quickly down there. I'm not sure that he could even do a barehanded play, you know, with the way he kind of surrounded the baseball. And pitchers don't practice that barehanded play anyway. They're always taught that if the ball is still rolling, kind of scoop it with your glove. That's just a good bunt that had a little backspin on it.
So Lagares is on with 1 out, and here's Plawecki. Plawecki 1 for 4 and a walk. Pitcher spots due up next, and Campbell, the lone position player left for the Mets, is in the on-deck circle. If you're Terry Collins, do you run your center fielder here? Popped up.
That may have been a situation right there where they let the ball drop.
Yep.
And touch the second, because it's not going anywhere. The turf is nice and soft. It was going to hit and stop. And you flip it to Brandon Phillips, and then you trade the speedy center fielder for a runner for a catcher. It may not mean anything at all, and maybe it wasn't worth taking the chance, but we have seen that happen before.
Well, here comes Eric Campbell to pinch hit. He's got a couple of homers and 12 knocked in. Lagares down at first. That pitch is up high. So Barrett goes 2 innings, allows 1 hit and no runs. Each Familia and Barrett have gone 2 innings, the last 2 Mets pitchers. And they'll chase Lagares back to first. Campbell has started some games at third as part of a rotating third base situation for the Mets since David Wright went down. And right now the Mets really don't have a projected date for getting their captain back. Wright has had back difficulties, and while he's rehabbing, hasn't had the ability to even start running yet. So they don't know when they're going to get him back. Campbell up from Vegas in the PCL. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He's ready to deliver, but a ball came flying out of the bullpen. And Jay Bruce had to track it down, so stepping out was Campbell, and
Well, they got Reds and Mets warming up. I'm not sure what the deal is. Nielsen.
Long gone. Nate Adcock is loosening in the Reds bullpen. .44th pitch for Contreras in his 2 innings of work from the stretch. Runner not going. Did he go? And we'll go full. Lagares will be off and running here, with Herrera, the second baseman, on deck. Runner going, pitch hit to right. Back is Bruce, has it measured, and he'll squeeze it. So the Mets strand another. They have stranded 14 in this 2-day game. Marlon Byrd leads it off, and we return. Affair. The game suspended due to rain yesterday. Each team has 10 hits. We are tied at 1. The runner left on base now leaves 16 left on base for the Mets and 12 for the Reds. And these are two bullpens that have done yeoman work in the last 2 days, and the Mets bullpen will continue to do just that. Their bullpen overall in earned run average is ranked 4th in the league. Opponents batting average #1. They've got some heavy throwing right-handers. And home runs allowed, not many of them. And a guy who used to be the closer here, Chris, had Tommy John surgery, 14 months ago, and is now back and pitching pretty well, is Bobby Parnell.
Well, you're going to empty that bullpen and eventually get to somebody like Parnell, who at one time was one of the hardest throwers of anybody in the league. That was a few years ago and a few stints on the disabled list ago. Parnell this year only 5 games, but 5 very good games.
See the 4 2/3 innings. He has yet to allow a run since coming back after his rehab down at Vegas.
Now 30 years old.
Here's Marlin. Bird single, lined out, bounced into a double play, flied out, and then reached on an infield hit in the 10th inning today. Trying to get it started for the Reds in what they hope will be the lucky 13th. Another one of the stops on the road for Marlon Byrd, this Mets franchise. Reds and Mets did not have batting practice today or yesterday. The Mets did have batting practice on Friday. The Reds, of course, didn't get into town until about 5 a.m. on Friday after the rain delay and the lengthy game in Pittsburgh. Here's the 1-1. Well, Terry Collins went to seek out Marlon Byrd to see how he was doing. Collins, a big fan of Marlon Byrd when he played here. Scouting report the same on him wherever he's been. He'll play hard, provide a little bit of power for you. Came back after 17 days after hitting the disabled list with a wrist injury. And trying to provide some power for the Reds here. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Schumacher on deck. Did he hold? Byrd strikes out here in the 13th. 1 out for Parnell. At one time for Bobby Parnell, Chris, it was straight gas, and he's become more of a pitcher now.
Well, he has to. I mean, even as hard as he was throwing back in the day, may not be as hard by today's standards. We're talking about only going back to, say, 2008 and 2009 when he was 23, 24 years old.
Schumacher loops it to left, sinking in front of Kadire, but he's there to make the catch. 6 pitches, 2 outs here in the 13th. Schumacher a double and a walk in 6 plate appearances in this game. And here comes Ivan de Jesus. Other than the double by Phillips, he probably had the best at bats for the Reds yesterday. Didn't have anything to show for it, but he hit the ball hard 3 times. 0 for 5, struck out his last time up. As a Red, a couple of homers and 6 knocked in since rejoining the club from AAA. Towards the hole and through into right. Well, the Reds have a life here in the 13th with a base hit to right. And Eugenio Suarez, the last position player left for the Reds here in this game, will come off the bench to pinch hit. Suarez a homer and 6 knocked in. This is natural side. At one time was a switch hitters. Can the left hand hitting and now back to his right hand hitting. Started the first game of the series, was 0 for 3 on Friday night. That 0 for 3 ended what was for him a career high 6-game hitting streak. Got the start on a regular basis due to the injuries in Detroit last year. 1 ball, no strikes. Steps out, takes a look at Jim Riggleman, who rolls through the signs for him, and steps back in. .93-94 is what you'll see from Bobby Parnell with his fastball now.
Well, yeah, and that's the top end, and it used to be a lot harder than that. In fact, even, only 14 months removed from Tommy John surgery, had his minor league rehab not run out in 30 days, he wouldn't be up here. They'd rather have him down there building up more arm strength.
Came back, it was immediately thrown into a pressure situation against the Braves when Familia pulled a groin muscle, and responded with a solid inning of work and a save a week and a half ago. A little bigger lead down at first for Ivan De Jesus, not going. Big swing, 2-2. Eugenio steps in. The Reds trying to scratch across a run in this 1-1 ball game. Still another game to come. The regularly scheduled Sunday game between these two teams. Runner going. He got it. Throw a little low and a little wide, but a good job by Herrera, who got the tag on the Reds runner from first. Take another look. Good job by Herrera, and they just do get the tag. Down on Ivan De Jesus. Still tied at 1, going to the bottom of 13.
The Reds and Fox Sports Ohio would like to send out a very special happy birthday, albeit belated, to Georgiana Frizzell from Dayton, Ohio. On Friday, she celebrated her 93rd birthday. God bless you, Georgiana. Happy belated birthday. I'm Jim Day, and we've got a Cincinnati Red working overtime on his birthday. Also, happy birthday going out to Brandon Phillips, his 34th today. I'm sure he expected just to play one game perhaps on his birthday, but we're going to play 1+ or maybe 1++. But that dude BP, I'm sure once he gets back to Cincinnati, will celebrate in some fashion.
The way we're going, JD, that'll probably not be today. It'll be tomorrow.
How about this number of the Reds in the bullpen right here? They have put up a lot of zeros, and I'm talking about 26+ scoreless innings. I think you got to go back to the time that Manny Parra gave up a couple of runs with a home run the last time the Reds bullpen has given up a run.
And put Nate Adcock on that list, has not allowed a run in his last 3 appearances, 4 innings. Suarez stays in the game at short. That's a strike on the corner. So that'll leave Suarez hitting in the 8th spot and Adcock entering the game in the 7th spot in the lineup. The big right-hander from Kentucky delivers. To Herrera, who made a nice play on the ball in the dirt from Plawecki to slap the tag on De Jesus to end the inning. Herrera 0 for 4 in a walk in his 5 plate appearances in this game. Popped up right side. Is there room for Votto? Be behind the dugout. Still to come after this one is concluded. Josh Smith will get the ball for the Reds in the regularly scheduled Sunday game. Then Steven Matz will make his major league debut, the young left-hander for the Mets. And now in the bottom of the 8th in Philadelphia, Washington leading the Phillies 3-2. In the 9th in Miami, the Dodgers lead 2-0 there. In the air down the right field line, that'll be in the seats also. In the 8th in Pittsburgh, Atlanta leads that one 2-0. Minnesota and Milwaukee, they're scoreless. Underway in Milwaukee, and everything else later on. Down and in, that's a walk. Herrera, a leadoff walk here in the 13th. Yesterday, Michael Lorenzen started for the Reds, went 5 2/3, 6 hits, 1 run. Struck out 3 but walked 4. Parra got the final out before the rain forced suspension of the game. Your report card on Lorenzen from yesterday, Chris.
Well, the scoreboard, when you pitch and you only give up 1 run, you've done a darn good job. I tell you, the young man has pitched. He's probably exceeded expectations, which were already very high based on what we saw in spring training.
There's Herrera, got some speed down at first. Adcock to the stretch, and here's Granderson. Frazier in tied at third, but if there's anybody that's had a hot bat for the Mets, it is Granderson. Double and a homer yesterday, and then 2 walks, and he's also reached on an error. So he's been on base 4 of the 6 plate appearances he's had in this game, and throwing another home run, a leadoff home run on Friday night. Herrera a little bit bigger lead. Not going. Ripped past the diving effort of Phillips into right. Herrera turning and going to third. Here comes the throw. Won't be in time. So it's first and third, and Granderson continues to punish opposing pitchers.
I mean, he's a one-man wrecking crew.
Man.
I mean, literally, the Mets would not have scored in this series, it seems like, without Granderson. Hit a leadoff home run the other night. And there he goes first to third when Herrera does a good bit of base running on that line shot to right field. One of the reasons why Herrera was able to go to third base was because the outfield is playing so deep to keep a ball getting behind them for a double that Jay Bruce had to play exceptionally deep and really had no chance to get the runner at third.
Well, nobody out, runner on first. What do you do here, Chris? Do you walk the bases loaded?
No, you don't. I don't think you want to do that. I think you want to try to get a strikeout. Then you may want to walk Duda. But you've got to bring your outfield in. I mean, way in.
Tejada.
So if a fly ball goes to them, they know for certain that they're going to be able to throw the guy out at the plate. And I don't think that they're shallow enough yet.
Tejada and Lagares, the 2 best bunters on this club. Good speed at third. Whispering in the ear of Herrera is the third base coach, Tim Tuffle. Reds with the infield, edge of the grass here in the 13th.
You think they would? You know Terry Collins. You've been around a long time.
I think they would squeeze.
Do you think he's a squeeze kind of guy?
Definitely. Especially with Tejada at the plate. Herrera down the line, but the Reds try to defense it with Frazier just standing on the bag. As long as he defenses it that way, very difficult for him to get any kind of a break.
You're still going to go with the pitch. I mean, the pitcher's not paying any attention to him because you've got a small lead. And the execution of the squeeze is really more on the batter than it is the runner. What normally the runner does wrong in a squeeze is goes too early, not too late.
2 balls, 1 strike. To short. Bobble by Suarez, but the runner will hold at third and the bases will be loaded. Well, we've talked about it. He's come up with some outstanding defensive plays, but 2 errors the other night in Pittsburgh. An error at game 1 of the series, and then this error here allows the runner to reach and load the bases.
Well, it doesn't lose the ball game, though. I mean, Brandon Phillips, look at Brandon right on it just in case. I think Suarez would have held him too. Herrera was tempted when he saw this ball go through the legs, but he realized he couldn't get far enough off the bag to get a good jump. So an error, yes, on Suarez, but not one that really harms the Reds all that much. A little rough around the edges defensively, but I think he's got a chance to get a whole lot better.
I'll erase it from your mind right now, and out comes Brian Price, and he's going to
This is where he wears half of a manager's cap and half of a pitching coach's cap. Give a little pep talk to Nate Adcock out there, and then also some instructions to his infield.
With Duda coming to the plate, a fly ball guy, he's called Schumacher in from the outfield, and what they'll do is put an extra infielder in the infield for the Reds, and they'll go with 2 outfielders.
Get a 6-man infield.
So Schumacher gets his other glove. Bird will go to left center. Bruce will go to right center. The winning run, Herrera, still sitting at third. And with Duda up, not only will they put an extra infielder in, but they'll overshift on him. So if you're Duda, and this year Duda has not done it prior to this year, but this year he has gotten a couple of base hits to the left side.
I'd be more inclined to play straightaway center with Marlon Bird here. And tempt him to hit the ball the other way if he can do it. You got to love this, though.
Now, you don't see it often, folks. You got an extra infielder, 2 outfielders, speed at third, a fly ball hitter at the plate. They call him Jay Bruce in tight.
He was way too deep, and he's still way too deep. There's no way on a fly ball where Jay Bruce is playing, you're going to throw anybody out. Everybody's got to come in. This is do or die at the plate right here.
Adcock to the stretch. Bases loaded. No one out. In the dirt. Good block by Pena. Well, a leadoff walk started it. A base hit, then an error. And the bases are loaded with no one out in the 13th. Anderson has the only hit of the inning. And over at first, Tejada's on after the error. Tough road here. If you get by Duda, you've got the best professional hitter in this lineup in Kadire up next. Adcock to the stretch. Duda digs in. That's a strike. If ever you wanted to strike out, it's right here. If Price can get a strikeout from Adcock, he's got a chance to get out of it with a double play with Kadire at the plate. Bounce to Votto. He'll bobble the ball and the run will score. In a rush to get the ball out of his glove, the ball squirted out of Votto's hand. The winning run scores in the 13th on the ground ball to first base. So after 2 days and 13 innings, The Mets score on this play, Chris.
Tough to end the game on 2 errors.
If he gets the ball here, you see where it is. All they need is the force at the plate. They'd have it. So Duda will get the sunflower seed celebration.
Well, they gave him a hit on that, George, so that's one of the reasons why they can genuinely celebrate. It's been a long day. This ball game began actually more than 24 hours ago, or just about 24 hours ago. And for the Mets, a long wait worth it. For the Reds, they got to get in there, regroup, and be back at it in not very long.
Well, the only guy who really loaded the lumber for the Mets was Curtis Granderson, who was being interviewed right there, and rightly so. He's kept the rallies alive for the Mets for both of these games. And game number 2 of this 3-game series is now history. 2 runs, 11 hits, no errors for the Mets. A run, 11 hits, and 3 errors for the Reds. Our steel power tool performer is Curtis Granderson. A double, a homer, a walk, reached on an error, then a base hit for Curtis. He's the hero of the game, and he's the guy who got us to the second day, and he kept the rally going here in the 13th. So coming up next, Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw to wrap this one up. Mets win it 2-1 in 13.